In 1997, Blade formed the Fellowship Band with pianist John Coward, bassist Chris Thomas, saxophonist Myron Walden and Melvin Butler, guitarist Jeff Parker, and pedal steel guitarist Dave Easley. The band released its debut album in 1998, blending folkloric references, hints of church and spiritual concerns, jazz modality, and countrified touchstones. Tonight's album, we're going to be covering the Brian Blade Fellowship, the album Perceptual, released on the Blue Note label in the year 2000. So welcome, everyone. I can't wait to get in the discussion for the Brian Blade Fellowship album Perceptual. All right. We're off the rails already.
That's all right.
All right. It's good to be back, and it was great to be covering a new album this week. Not only this particular album, but Dad's suggestion, which will be coming up here in a little bit as well, What's News. So with that being said, we changed things up. Are we going straight to audio clips, or are we just going to dialogue a bit?
Going straight to audio. I want them to hear what we're talking about, just in case they didn't listen to us last week and put it in their ear.
All right. I'm already loaded up, so I'm going to start with my selection for today. Variations of a Bloodline. From the Same Blood, Fellowship, Like Brothers, Mustangs, Class of 1988. I think it's just called Variations of Bloodline, but it is listed that way. So I'm going to start at about 1:20, and I'll talk about why in just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off there. But at that moment, it kind of incorporated to me everything about this album. There's the fast-paced motion, if you will, of chill, really relaxed music. Saxophone going on, and then they break it down. Strip it down to that simple guitar motif, and then start to build it back up. To me, that incorporated a lot of this particular album. The fact remains that every undertone that I thought I heard in the songs was actually a real undertone from musicians who we have grown to love and adore. Whether it's Matt Shirt, Pat Metheny, Brad Meldo, the saxophone rolling through there of Wayne Shorter, all of these things coming back. And then that's what made me look at who was on this album. Of course, Brian Blade, the drummer, but is also listed as an acoustic guitar player on this album. Melvin Butler on tenor and soprano saxophones. John Cowherd on producer, piano, pump organ, Fender Rhodes. Dave Easley, Daniel Linus, Joni Mitchell's on one of the tracks at the end of the album. Kurt Rosenwinkel on acoustic guitar, which is what I heard there. Christopher Thomas on bass, and Myron Walden on bass clarinet and alto sax. So there's a lot of love. Courtney Pine on the bass clarinet. There's a lot of things that I will talk about throughout this episode about who that lineup was.
Wait a minute. Courtney Pine is on the bass clarinet?
Courtney Pine was not on it. No. But to hear the bass clarinet coming in, you hear the Courtney Pine. You hear the Wayne Shorter.
Yes.
You hear...
Yes.
You hear some of the greats of the past, and it made sense why I was reading earlier that although they used to stick with the usuals, what you could hear from the past, their influences. They began to branch out on this album to do their own thing. And that led me to the Pat Metheny concept with Gary Burton. Don't bring a record unless you really, really, really know it's you and that it stands out. I'll turn you down on everything. And so this is uniquely their voicing.
Yeah. Dad, what was your take on the clip?
Let me ask a question. I don't want to take you by surprise. I'm sure you can answer. A bass clarinet. What is the difference between a bass clarinet and a tenor sax or a bass clarinet? I'm trying to picture. I didn't research it this afternoon or previous, but bass clarinet. What kind of a tone does it have? What you know what I'm saying?
Okay. So I want you to picture Three Rivers Big Band, and I want you to picture the sax section right in front on the left-hand side. Chuck's there playing the baritone saxophone, the bari sax.
Yeah.
So the alto saxes are this big. The baritone sax is that big, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's got a deeper, lower register playing bass notes. The clarinet, you've watched Mom play her clarinet.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's in reference, it's this big, but the baritone clarinet is longer and it's got a curved up bell. They make a stand for it so it sits on the floor and it plays the lower register. A saxophone sounds tinny almost. A bass clarinet has got that wooden deepness, the richness to it. Benny Goodman plays the clarinet, and it's the higher register clarinet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got a woody sound, a woodness to it.
Right.
As opposed
More
to
mellow or richer in tone versus brassy.
Yeah.
Even like a tenor sax, which I think is the lower end of the tenor sax is similar to that bass clarinet. So although they may hit the same notes, one's going to sound rich, dark, and mellow, if you will.
Yeah, I like that clip, Drew. It speaks about this whole album and the what am I thinking? The interest that it piques in a person to hear more and more of this album. So the changes, the instrumentation, right on. Yeah.
All right, who's next?
Dad, what do you want to hear?
I've chosen Crooked Creek at 3:45. So one of the reasons I chose that, and on many of the other tracks, by the way, it was difficult to choose a track because to me, every one of the tracks speaks volume of the quality and the craftsmanship of this album. But I could hear the drums in the background, okay? And he wasn't overplaying, he wasn't overpowering, but there were other craftsmen that were playing, and the flow of it just kind of drew me in. The other part of the other reason I chose this because when I hear the title of the track, Crooked Creek, it does give me a flavor for the album cover. Okay, I can picture a tribe of Native Americans at a creekside, and just take up residence there for a period of time. And so, I mean, that's kind of a crazy way to look at it, but Crooked Creek. So it kind of speaks to the overall album, and especially the cover. So there you go. What do you?
I loved that clip because it reminded me. This whole album basically reminds me of Pat Metheny Group,
No?
and you know I'm a Pat Metheny fan,
Yeah.
and from the first measure of the first song to the last bar of the last song, I get Pat Metheny vibes, and it's not Pat, and I get that, but it's just comforting. The creativity that he uses, not to sound like Pat, but still to sound like himself, but to work it all in together to give you that the creativeness to draw you into this album is simply just amazing. I mean,
And I love the way you think about that from the Pat Metheny Group. I would even say that Pat Still and the Metheny Group and this sample shows the freshness of where jazz music is and the improvisation of this. It's not standard. It's not strict. It's not set in stone. It's the movement, that fresh sound of that guitar moving through there.
yeah.
It's not your
And-
chords either. It's not a rhythm section guitar.
Yeah, the thing that I like about it is that Brian is not overpowering. He's not this is my group and I'm going to play the drums as loud as I can the whole time. You know, he gives those other guys time to shine. And man, when he just lays back and just sets that groove down,
It's funny, Matt, because I listened to the album and I'm like, wait a minute, he's a drummer. Did I even hear the drums? So
Yeah.
I listened to the album a second time specifically for Brian on the drums. And
Yeah.
he's so chill and laid back, and several of the other albums as well. He's not going to stand out. He's not running. Our drummer on Sunday nights loves to hammer the drums. He wants to be heard over everybody. You barely hear Brian Blade back there, but you know he's there.
well, and that even goes back to the name of the group. It's the Brian Blade Fellowship. It's not the Brian Blade Band, and you guys are accompanying me. It's the Fellowship. It's the conversation between the cats on the stage, you know? And if one of you is talking longer and louder than the other, it's almost no fun to listen to the conversation. So
Which leads you to your track.
to,
Perfectly.
all right, to my track.
It really does.
Mm-hmm. Okay, song number 6, The Sunday Boys. This track, it just I don't know. There's just something mysterious and haunting about this track that put me in the spirit to listen to the rest of the album. So number 6, The Sunday Boys.
We're gonna listen to the whole track. It's subtitled Improvisation. Let's listen to their conversation.
That's the church and the spiritual concerns that I referenced in the beginning of the episode. That just takes you to church. It puts you in the mood, puts you in the right frame of mind to finish the album out. I think it's a great break right in the middle, just to kind of clear your palate and cleanse your ears for the next 3 songs that come out. I don't know, man. I loved it. Subcontextually, it put me in the mood because, of course, today I listened to Modern Day Jazz Stories by Courtney Pine.
That's awesome. I wondered. As soon as he started playing, I was like, man, I want to go listen to Courtney Pine, which is why he's on my mind.
Yes, absolutely. And I couldn't think of anything to listen to while I was cooking dinner tonight. So I told A, play that album. And oh my goodness.
it's funny because I ended up on a different album altogether. Herbie Hancock, Michael Brecker, Roy Hargrove, The Directions in Music live at
Yeah.
Massey Hall.
Yeah.
Well, why that album? Well, Brian Blade's the drummer on that. And so I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go back to this one. Of course, Dad's pick of the week also led me back to 1967 as well. So the hauntingness of that, and if it is improvisation, this is what I heard in your clip, Matt. A couple of guys sitting around, and he says, I wonder what these church chords could be. And you've got your clarinet player, Myron Walden, that says, oh, that'd be really cool. Keep, and he looks and doesn't say it, but it's the nod. Keep playing. So I'm going to play something over it. And the guy in the sound booth is just getting tuned up. He looks up and goes, wow, I'm glad I hit record on that.
We're keeping it.
Yeah, keep it. That's a keeper.
Brian doesn't play one drum stroke on that song.
No.
So again, it leads me back to the creativity, to the spirit of the album, even the spirit of the album. It's the fellowship. It's not just Brian Blade.
Mhm.
I love it so much. I do. I love it so much.
Yep.
There
All right.
I know that you're going to get into we'll go into the slideshow.
Go ahead.
Because I was just going to say, when you come into musicianship like this, the names on here are brand new, mostly new to us.
Mhm.
We've moved from the jazz greats. We're moving into, this is a 2000 album. They've celebrated their 20 years in music together. Who are the names on the album, and who did they play with, and why are they so good? That was really my question. Well, Daniel Lannis was the producer of their first album. That was the Brian Blade Fellowship debut. He's also a musician and the acoustic guitar player on this. John Coward, piano, composer, arranger. He helped found the Brian Blade Fellowship. He also had recorded with Cassandra Wilson, coming forth by day in 2015. All of these individuals, Daniel Lyons going back to that. Sling Blade. He composed the music for the movie Sling Blade, as well as
Sling Blade.
another. Bob Dylan, Neil Young, Peter Gabriel, Robbie Robertson. Who are these musicians? Going into Kurt Rosenwinkel, after he won the National Endowment of Arts, he was signed to Verve. He played with Brad Maldot, John Fram, and of course Brian Blade. Kurt recorded with the group Human Feel, which included Chris Speed and Jim Black. So going right back to last week's album.
Right. Last week,
Now,
yeah.
he did not record on the album we had looked at, but he has recorded with Jim Black and Chris Speed. Kurt has also recorded with Gary Burton and Danilo Perez, which is a name that we should begin to know. Daniel Perez was part of the band with Wayne Shorter from 2000 on,
Yep.
as well as Brian Blade. So these names have become legendary for today.
Okay, and we're on the start of a new journey, though, and so these names aren't imprinted in our mind. If on the Jazzwise journey, the first 10 albums that we covered, we were just getting started, so we didn't know.
Well, Mike Westbrook and
we didn't
Michael.
know Jack from Jill, and we didn't know JoJo McFlo. So
Yeah, well, and it's funny because here I read Song for Someone, the Kenny Wheeler book, all of the names from those first 10 musicians, the British music, the Canadian music, all of those names are in this book with Kenny Wheeler. And I'm like,
so that's why I'm excited about this second half of our journey here, because these new names we get to start talking about more current artists.
yes.
So
And let's I'm going to go ahead and drop this one more. Myron Walden, the musician, composer, arranger, saxophonist, flautist, bass, clarinetist, has played with Freddie Hubbard and Esperanza Spalding. In the new Jazz Composers Octet was part of Freddie Hubbard, New Colors, and On the Real Side were those two albums. Now, I just have to drop this. we did the jazz mass at St. James Episcopal several months ago.
Uh-huh.
And a brilliant composer, pianist, Xavier Davis, was there playing with Diego Rivera here in town. Of course, that is the same composer's octet that played with Freddie Hubbard. So I got to meet Xavier Davis. So there, I just had to say, the names of the people on this album are stinking impressive. That's what I would impress on y'all listening to this album. There's some beautiful, beautiful musicianship going on.
It's evident throughout the whole album, though. It really is, and we're getting the gold at the end of the rainbow. We don't know how many hours they spent practicing and putting this stuff together. So the gold at the end of this rainbow is what we've got.
Yeah.
I think it's impressive. There are 9 different artists on this group. And one of the first artists that came up, or instrument, was the pump organ.
Mm-hmm.
Do tell, and a pedal steel guitar. And I've seen a pedal steel guitar being played, but
Well,
here's
on my clip, that was the pump organ.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Like a old sewing machine. You got to keep that pedal rocking back and forth, up and down.
To keep the
with
air
your
flowing.
feet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
to
keep
keep
the air
your-
flowing.
It's a
A bagpipe is a bagpipe on,
organ. Yeah.
on legs. Yep.
I'll put a picture up right now of a pump organ, but old school.
Old school. Yeah. And it just sounds so haunting and amazing,
Mhm.
Yep.
And
All right, is it my
I just
turn?
looked at this, Matt. Uses free reeds. That pump organ uses reeds to blow the air over it.
Okay.
So much like a clarinet, if you will.
Yeah.
It's blowing reeds over.
Blowing the
Yeah,
air
I'll
over
show
the
you
reeds
a couple of
through the
them
pipe.
up online right now, but
Cool.
yeah, your turn.
Okay, my turn. Let's start the slideshow. I'm excited to get through the slideshow. Just like I've said for more than 100 weeks, first slide, whatever you do it to jazz. You'll hear that coming up in just a few minutes in our weekend music after we're done with the discussion for the Brian Blade Fellowship. Of course, that's the album we're talking about tonight. The album is Perceptual from the year 2000, released on the Blue Note label. Moving on to the third slide. We talked about the album artwork before we started recording tonight. We looked up a few facts about the artwork. I love the artwork. Dad, it goes back to your clip and how the creek, the Greasy Creek, can flow and curvy creek. And
Crooked anyway.
the Crooked Creek. And you were talking about the Native Americans, and it's just such a gorgeous piece of art. This album cover, I love everything about it.
Do you remember what we got into about that album cover?
Well,
I just lost
you
his
and
name.
I.
No, right before we hit record, I wanted to say Stephen Curtis, but that's Stephen Curtis. Dad, who was this?
Well, The Shadow Catcher is based on a novel by Marion Wiggins. Okay, that's the Shadow Catcher is the name of the photographic studio that Brian.
It was Curtis Sheriff. Pause.
So the Shadow Catcher is Edward S. Curtis, and he's the photographer that actually took the Native Americans photographs. And we'll put up links to his website and the Shadow Catcher book by Marion Wiggins.
Yeah, the photographer was documenting with over 44,000 photographs stretching from 1889 up until it looked like 1930. But he toured and covered the Native Americans from the photographs. So a lot of those links we'll put on there. We were all taken by the photograph of her. I couldn't find the actual plate saying who it was, but I saw a similar photo of her. It looks like young lady from the Yuma tribe. So yeah, bringing this historical look back into today, past and present.
I was just really taken up by the album cover.
Yeah.
It's like I couldn't watch it, I couldn't see it enough, because there's such a story. There's got to be such a deep story, a long story about this young Indian, and her tribe and where she was, where she lived, what she did.
Well, I like it to the whole album, though. Every time you look at the picture, you can find something else to view that you didn't see before. And like every time I listen to this album, which was about literally 20 times this week, I heard something new. I heard something different. I heard something that I didn't remember that I heard last time. So the album and the artwork, I think, go together beautifully.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, just a brief bio about Brian Blade. Brian's daddy was a preacher, so we have that in common.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Elvin Jones and Art Blakey are some of his influences. Those are just a couple that I listed. I didn't list all of his influences that I found, but because they're drummers. I mean, Elvin Jones and Art Blakey, two of the very best drummers in the whole wide world besides Brian Blade, right?
Yeah.
I like the way you worked that in there. Two of the greatest. Next to.
And then, of course, Drew, you mentioned it earlier that he played with Wayne Shorter from the year 2000 on until Wayne passed away. So 23 years he played with Wayne Shorter's group. So he's no slouch. You know, you can hang with Wayne Shorter for 23 years. You got something going and you got it good.
Well, and it's interesting, Matt, because one of my favorite albums was Alegria. I love the way in which Shorter plays, and it never. I mean, you know who's on it. You hear Danilo Perez, and I think, man, this is so. Wait a minute, that's Brian Blade on the drums there. And if you watch Zero Gravity, like I have now, probably 8 times, all 3 parts 8 times, you'll see a lot of those musicians. So you'll also get a chance to pick up Brian Blade. You'll see what he's doing there on the drums in the movie, the documentary of Wayne Shorter, Zero Gravity.
Yeah. You're crazy, but you're a huge Wayne Shorter fan, so that does not surprise me that you've seen it 8 times. I've only seen it 3 times. So, Brian, to finish the information slide, the bio slide for me, 2013 and 2026 Grammy winner. So again, no slouch on his own, Brian Blade. We've got an exciting this or that week this week. You know, I explained it a little bit last week, and we're going to do a new little game. I don't care if you've heard the album. I don't care if you've only heard one of the albums. If you've heard both of the albums, great. You get to pick this or that. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for a review. You could just pick it based on the artwork. I don't care. Just pick one for us so that we've got some data to talk about. This week's this or that, we're going to go between Mingus and Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. So 2 banging albums. All you got to do is pick one. Pick which one you like the best. Dad, you've heard of both. No, you
can't pick both of them.
No, you can't pick both of them. It's this or that. This or that. Not this and that.
Wow.
Not soup and salad. It's soup or salad.
I wanted a soup and sandwich.
Yeah.
That's not an option.
So Matt, lead the way. Which one?
Okay. For me, it's Art Blakey.
Okay.
It's Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers.
Wow.
That's tough, bro. This is a tough one. I'm going with Charles Mingus, though.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Dad?
And I'm going to go with Art Blakey.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Art Blakey.
Now,
The Jazz Messengers, that was a beautiful, wonderful album.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you'll let us know in the form below which one, this or that.
Yep. We've got the link for the form right below here. Also, it's listed on our website under the this or that category. This is week 2. Every week, I'll do a week 1, week 2, week 3 event. It doesn't matter if you come in 6 weeks from now to vote. Please vote and let us know, and we'll get the results back to you. I don't know, a couple months. We'll go over a couple
Yeah.
this or that week.
Start
Just to let you know.
Start using the picks to talk about those albums. I'll always talk about those albums.
Oh yeah, well, we've talked about those two albums.
I'll talk
so maybe
again.
maybe I'll start putting up albums we haven't heard. Anyways, on the final slide, I just want to say thank you. You can always come to our website, theunconnoisseur.com. We've got a lot of great information on there. We've got a timeline slide from the last 100 albums that we did. I will be putting a new timeline slide up there to include from the year 2000 to the current years, the genres of jazz. I can't wait to find that and start building that list, the genres for the year 2000 and on. You can check us out on our radio channel, WTUR.org. It plays 24-hour jazz music. You get to hear our voices on Sunday morning from 4 a.m. to about 11 a.m. I play some Unconnoisseur podcast episodes on the radio channel, and then the rest is completely jazz. We do have a merch store, theunconnoisseur.com. Please go to the unconnoisseur.com and check out our merch link if you want to buy t-shirts or cups or mouse pads. It's all there available for you. And again, don't forget the this or that at theunconnoisseur.com. That's it for the slideshow for me. Thank you for letting me do that. Let's move right in right now. Let's do what's new first, and then we'll finalize our discussion on the Brian Blade Fellowship. All right, Dad, tell us what's new.
What's new?
So I think every week I say the same thing. Y'all are going to really, really like this album. And I can't impress it upon you enough to listen to Charles Lloyd, Figure in Blue. It was released in October of 2025, so it's basically brand new. Blue Note Records, and the length is 1 minute and 38 seconds.
1 hour and 38 minutes.
Yeah, I got that. Got that. But what I found out was this is a tribute album to Duke. I hadn't realized that until I started looking deeper into it. And Jason Moran is the pianist, and the man Marvin Sewell is the guitar. The description that I read was that this is a meditative ballad. It's got a lot of meditative ballads. It's a new Delta blues, post-bop, and it has avant-garde textures in it. You're gonna, once you start listening to this album, you're gonna want to hear the whole thing. Charles Lloyd, I mean, here's a cat, 87 years old, and he's bringing new talent into the scene, relatively new talent, and he's not overpowering like our Brian Blade. He's not overpowering, not taking center stage. He's bringing these other artists along with him. So the album also speaks of gratitude, of hope, and fellowship. So those things stand out as you listen to the album. So again, go listen to Figure in Blue by Charles Lloyd, and you're gonna want to listen to the whole thing more than one time.
I just want to say that I love Figure in Blue because it's got cool artwork.
I'll put that up, Matt. It's on the slide.
Oh, it is? No, I know, but in iTunes, the artwork moves.
I'll bring it a little closer. Tilt it.
There you go.
The artwork.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Figures are popping in and out.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just think it's cool. That's all. And yes, it's Charles Lloyd. So I'm glad you picked it. I had already had it in my library. I think I downloaded it the day that it came out, and I had already been through it to 2 or 5 or 10 times maybe, but it's a great pick. Really a great pick.
He's been around.
Well, we were first introduced to Charles Lloyd because of 1967's Live at Monterey, The Forest Flower, where at the time he had introduced us to a brand new pianist. Keith Jarrett.
Keith Jarrett. Yep.
So I think he's had that tendency to introduce us to new musicians. This album was really, really, really banging. But the other one that he released just 2 years ago, The Sky Will Still Be There Tomorrow. Guess who it featured on drums? Brian Blade.
Don't even. No way. Are
Brian
you
Blade.
serious?
Yes.
No
We
kidding.
enjoyed that album at nauseum. I listened to it a billion times at least. And then when I realized that, you know what, that drummer, Brian Blade. Yes, of course, we've heard Brian Blade before. Jason Moran on piano. We've heard his name before, and I think we're going to see it again too. So yeah, I mean, how many different ways can we come across? Oh yeah, Brian played on that album. These were some of my favorites. Brad Maldonado, introducing Brad Maldonado from 1995. That was Brian
Yep.
Blade.
Yep.
Of course, Wayne Shorter, Alegria from 03. Herbie, Michael Brecker, Roy Hargrove, Direction of Music. I'm like, wait a minute. Brian's been the drummer on all of these. How come now I realize that? Well, that's the journey.
And he's got a quartet. I
Yes.
didn't even mention the Brian Blade quartet with Joshua Redmond, Brad Maldonado, Christian McBride, and Brian Blade. That's an all-star cast right there. Joshua Redmond on sax, Brad on piano,
Yeah.
Christian McBride on the bass. Come on, that's an all-star cast. So I just added those two to my library, which
And Dad didn't introduce us. We've known about Christian McBride, but that was one of your What's New Old Man Jazz albums just a couple of
Christian
weeks ago,
McBand.
the big band.
Christian-
So
big band. Oh, banging album.
yeah.
Good.
So, all right,
We got sidetracked though.
we
So
did, we
back
did.
to Perceptual.
Got about 10 minutes left, so let's wrap up our discussion on the Brian Blade Fellowship, and then we'll introduce next week's artists. But tell me your overall thoughts on Brian Blade Fellowship Perceptual.
I loved it. I just thought it was such a good overall album. It doesn't overpower a person. It doesn't gets into your head, but more it gets into your soul. Gets in the heart of what music can be. And I have a quote. It's music is a drop in the ocean of life.
Ooh.
That's what you hear when you listen to this album. He says music. I'm expecting he means jazz music. It's a drop in the bucket to life. So the ocean of life.
I don't know. It's a pretty big drop in my bucket.
Yeah. But if you think about the breadth of just jazz music itself and other music varieties. So yeah, that's where I am.
It's the interesting spin on what is jazz all about to begin. From the beginning, what is jazz? If not improvisation, if not the ability to play what you feel, play what you hear, when you hear it, when you feel it. I think that's the important part. Is it it's a water drop in the ocean? Yes, it is. But it's also that legitimizing purpose of having something tangible in your hands. Music. You put music in the minds of children, they're going to grow with that ability to play or feel confident that the process of learning that song, learning to improvise, learning to play Mozart, whatever it might be, classical, jazz, rock, it's the ability to learn and grow through music.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me was this album. It's an opportunity for a refresher, if you will. I don't want wasabi and sushi anymore. I need to cleanse my palate. This is almost walking up for that little scoop of ice cream before you leave the buffet. Just something to wash it all down. It was just smooth and easy, and I'll listen to this album probably as many times as I have any of the greats that we've covered in the first 100. I mean, it's not my something else, but it sure could be my EST. Could be my 7 Days of Falling going forward.
Wow. Those
So
pretty big
you-
shoes to fill.
Yeah.
You wouldn't clean your palate with kimchi then, I guess, huh?
No.
No.
I mean, that's in between the teriyaki chicken and the spicy shrimp.
Yeah. Matt, what do you got?
Well, I made some notes. I don't usually do this, but I did likes and I did dislikes. So on
Okay.
my like side this week, I thought it was beautifully crafted. You know, going by by our criteria, the craftsmanship on this album is simply amazing. The craftsmanship, the way that it's crafted, I can hear all of the instruments all the time. If I'm supposed to hear it, it's there in the music. It's not something. It is a very dynamic album. I tried listening to it in the car yesterday on the way home from Bloomington. It's hard to listen to in the car because it's dynamic. It's quiet at some points, and you got to turn the radio up real loud, and then it gets loud at some points where you got to turn the radio down real quick. I like that about an album, though. It's dynamic. Of course, my other like, it reminds me of Pat Metheny Group. So I'm just saying, any music that reminds me of PMG, I'm going to listen to probably over and over again. One of my only dislikes, I felt like the songs were very similar. All of the songs felt similar to me. I'm not sure I could pick out, besides the Sunday Boys, because it's different enough. I'm not sure I could pick out which track name if you just played me a clip of this album. I'd know it was Brian Blade Fellowship, but I wouldn't be able to necessarily pick out a song title for you, just because it all kinds sounds like similar to me. On my dislike, this is not a dislike, but I did not hate Joni Mitchell on the track. I didn't hate her.
I wondered what your comments would be because I know how you feel about Joni Mitchell.
Okay.
So
I did not hate it. I didn't. I mean, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because she's singing in a style that Brian says, you have to,
this is what we need.
This is what we need. And it has to sound like something that you could repeat in case we need you on stage to sing it on a concert instead of some free flowing
Joni Mitchell.
Joni Mitchell. Yeah. So I loved it, even though I'm not a huge Joni Mitchell fan. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. I thought it met all the criteria, and I'll be the first to rate it. I couldn't go all the way to 10 for Brian Blade. I really don't regret it, but I'm going to rate Brian Blade Fellowship, the album Perception, at a 9.
All right. Dad?
Well, the criteria that we're using, I felt like I had to give it a 10.
Okay.
And I appreciate what you're saying, Matt. As I think back after listening to the tracks, they are very much similar. There's enough variety, however, that again, I couldn't identify the track names or stuff, but I felt like I could honestly give it a 10 because it really moved me. It drew me in. And of course, I wasn't driving and listening to it like you were to consider the dynamics of it. But you made a very good point. But I still gave it a 10.
Good. Did you play any of it for Mom?
No. We've been here, there, and everywhere, and no, I didn't.
Okay. I just wondered what a true unconnoisseur would say. You're not a true unconnoisseur anymore. You're getting into the.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Do I get a button for that, or a star or something?
I'll send you another sticker.
Gold star. Well,
anyway,
then I'm going to split the difference between a 10 and a 9, and I've written down 9.5. Matt, I think it's interesting because you would have said this, you did last week. We would have talked about the album long before we sat down to record. Uh-huh. So although we wouldn't have ever changed our numbers, our Tuesday morning dialogue definitely influenced how we would rate this. And after hearing you talk about how the songs all kind of blended, they do sound very similar. There's enough texture to it, although subtle texture. There's subtle textures between each song that do make it separate. And so I might have dropped my score a little bit based on that info. But I had 9.5 written down because it just flowed so smooth and easy. It's an easy album to just put on and get lost in. It's even harder when you try to listen with reverence. when it is your focus for 70 minutes to listen to the album. So 9.5 is what I gave that. I'm going to put down below in the under the description, if you like this album, then you might like these additional albums. Some things that I've come across because of Discogs. One of the names that I found this week, Eric Jacobson.
Yeah.
Jekabson, and the
I
Eric
was-
Jacobson Quintet from 2017.
I was wondering why I had him added in my library, and now I know.
If we've listened to this, I don't know that we have.
No.
But I found it yesterday, and I'm like, well, I'm going to listen to it. Banging good album. But I've also got some others. Kurt Rosenwinkel, Star of Jupiter. Of course, Brad Maldoz, The Art of the Trio, Volume 3. If you like these. But I'll put that down below. And, of course, jump into Dad's album, What's New?
Yeah.
If you like Perceptual from the Brian Blade Fellowship, then I think you're really going to enjoy this Charles Lloyd album, Figure in Blue. So... I'm going to go ahead and keep the ball rolling. My week in music. We're back to the grind today. So day one back at school. And to all of the teachers in the world today, I understand firsthand the stress and pressures that come on returning back to school. I did not have a handle on any one of my students, and I all but gave up halfway through and looked at the clock, and I'm done. And finally, two of the students agreed, it's going to be a rough day for you. Just get used to it. We're not here. We won't be here for a week. I said it's good because I don't have anything planned for this week because I figured it'd be tough. I didn't realize how impossibly tough returning back after winter break or summer break can be for teachers. So my heart goes out. Now, I've had 3 weeks of break, so I'm glad to be back into rhythm. But even more than that, I've had 3 weeks of riding my bike with middle schoolers. So I've had a great time coaching and training kids to ride bikes, getting prepared for school to be back in session. And oddly enough, it was the first Sunday night jazz ensemble that we've had in, we've had almost 3 weeks off, so a month almost. So
Wow.
kind of the same thing. Last night, I had to apologize because the tenor player stopped playing his solo, and I was just fiddling with some notes, and my trumpet kid tagged me. He said, just jump in and start playing. Joe's talking to the guy. So I stole his solo. And then I had his chorus and then 2 of my own. I got out of notes towards the end of my third chorus, but I felt really bad. You don't want to cut somebody off in their solo. But Joe was telling him what notes he should be using instead, and I just jumped in and took over. So
Yeah.
Practice time has been crucial. So I've been enjoying my time on my horn. That's my week in music.
Nice.
Matt, what about you?
Well, it's very short for me. I just wanted to mention that I forgot to say that Brian Blade has 9 other albums. I did three of the other albums this week, so that helped me really get a sense for Perceptual, where Brian Blade's coming from. I love the other 3 that I did. I hope to do the other 5 in the future. I do want to say that Pat Metheny has a new album coming out, which is Side Eye, the Side Eye Project. And that album will be coming out in April. I heard the first track on Side Eye. It's true. It's true. Pat Metheny. The Side Eye 3 project. It's called Side Eye 3 Plus, and of course, it's got Chris Fishman and Joe Dyson. Can't wait till April for the new Pat Metheny album to come out. That's why I'm repping tonight, Pat Metheny.
Yeah.
And Blade. I don't know. I'm excited.
It's funny, Matt. You said he's got 9 other albums. Brian Blade does.
Fellowship, the Brian Blade Fellowship.
But I was going to say, as it goes with co-leader or playing on other albums, I can't count them.
It's crazy. It's crazy
of other albums. So,
yep.
Matt, with you, I'm excited that Pat Metheny's album's coming out. It's going to be super awesome.
Yep. We'll also put a link in the description, thebrianblade.com. That's his website. I forgot to add that to the bio this week. So brianblade.com. That's my week in music. That's all I want to say.
How much time do I have?
About 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, this week I listened to Thelonious Monk and the Caravan. Loved it. Herbie Hancock, Maiden Voyage. I mean, who can't appreciate Maiden Voyage? I was taken up by Take Five and our man Brubeck, and I listened to that album. I don't know if you all know any Paul Wilbur music. He sings a lot of worship type songs, and most of the time he's live in Jerusalem, singing some of the most marvelous. One of his albums is called Lion of Judah. Another one's called Watchman. I listened to both of those albums this week, and of course, you know, I've mentioned before, I've got this whole series of smooth music. I listened to the third track of smooth music. And lastly, I'll tell you that last night we had Bible study, and it was on patience. And Matt, do you remember the Music Man?
Yep. Have patience.
Have patience. Don't be
Inside to hurry.
So there's a new version of it that I played last night for our Bible study group. As have patience, have patience. So that's really a good, fun little short version of learning to be patient.
Yep.
So that's been my week in music. So I've enjoyed the week thoroughly, have an opportunity to listen to all that music.
That's awesome.
Good to go.
Good week.
Not one of us, because I could care less, but y'all might. Not one of us mentioned the big shebang that took place over the weekend called the IU Oregon game. Now, of course, this won't come out for a while, so today is the 12th of January as we record.
It'll be old news because IU will have already won the championship on the 19th.
Right?
And what's impressive to me, Matt, is that you and Kendra got to be on campus this last weekend.
Yep.
I was jealous.
Well, I'll tell you, it was low key. There wasn't a lot of students on campus yet, so it really was low key. We got to drive around just a little bit yesterday. We of course drove by the football stadium, took lots of pictures. Assembly Hall, we took some pictures. What else did we do? We of course visited some of the bookstores, and I had to get a new sweatshirt. I only own one thing IU, and it's a dry fit shirt that I purchased, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago at a garage sale or something. So I don't even own a lot of IU stuff, and I bought a new sweatshirt to wear for the game on the 19th.
So you didn't drive by where they do the little 500?
No, that wasn't one of the things on our list.
Yeah.
I did see some bicyclists though, riding around campus. So yeah, I'm sorry you were jealous. It was Kendra's Christmas party, and that's where they decided to have it. Was on, of course, one of her bosses is an IU grad, so he didn't mind one bit footing the bill for all the food and libations that we had that night. So it was fun.
Good.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Drew, are you going to introduce next week's album?
I am.
All right.
I am. Let's do this. So first, thank you all for joining us through the end of this. This has been a great dialogue about Bryant Blade Fellowship, the album Perceptual. As we continue on, we've got one more week where we look at the year 2000. I will probably want at some point in time the three Yahoos to talk about the other albums quickly that are listed for 2000, because there's some bangers. Not to mention Danilo Perez, Motherland's down here. So I think that's his album. Let's see. It was Daniel Perez Motherland on Verve. But that's my shout out for that, because anybody that played with Wayne Shorter on Alegria is my favorite. So as we continue in our dialogue about the year 2000 in jazz, we have an album titled Live in Chicago. It was actually 1999 when it was first recorded, and it is Kurt Elling. This is a vocalist, and it was recorded at Chicago's Green Mill Jazz Club. This album received a Grammy Award for the Best Vocal Jazz Album. It was the 4th nomination in a row since Ellington's debut. I'm going to keep calling him Kirk Ellington. Kirk Elling's debut. So to see this as a Grammy Award-winning album live in Chicago from Green Mill Jazz Club, Kurt Elling. Now, I found it really interesting that he pulls in John Hendricks, who the three of us have listened to before. John Hendricks is on 2 of the tracks, Don't Get Scared and Going to Chicago. Pardon me, John Hendricks was a vocalist that we got to experience on the week that we covered George Coleman's New York, New York. So I was pretty excited to see that name pop up. I'm sorry, I said Coleman. It's not George Coleman. It's George Russell.
Russell. Yep.
Got a ticket? Get a wicket. So we're going to hear John Hendricks on 2 of these tracks, live in Chicago, Kirk Elling.
And I'm guessing that we're going to know right who it is when we hear the voice, because it's an unmistakable voice that still resounds in my head.
Yep. It's gonna be a great album. So tune in next week as we look at this album and we discuss more of what's taken place in 2000. Then the following week, you'll just have to stay tuned to find out what we're going to talk about, because once I hit pause and we stop the recording, we'll probably talk about what we're going to talk about. Matt, this has been interesting because we have covered in the Jazzwise magazine, we'd already done it 6 months before.
Yep.
So we already knew what we were talking about.
Yep.
We're going to take an off week and look at a different album in between 2000 and then 2001. So we'll figure out what that's going to be. And by the way, I've replaced my backdrop here. That Dark Side of the Moon rug right there was handmade by my daughter for me. So she was forced to use some additional colors on it to make the rug legit, but that is a 3x3 rug hanging on the wall, Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. So there, that's what I've got.
She's an amazing young lady.
Yes, she is.
Absolutely.
And a sax player.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. Well, hey, thank you all so much for sticking around. We'll see you next week.
Got
Adios.
it. Sayonara.